Hi, I'm Mike Sokol from RV Electricity, and I'm happy to be here with Eric and Tammy for the Techno RV Virtual RV Rally. Hey, we're going to have a little fun and learn some things. Today, we're going to go through how to use a digital voltmeter to measure a pedestal. Let's get started. So first off, for outlet testing, we have to know what hole is what. So you'll see that on all of the modern pedestals, the ground pin is oriented at the top, and the leftmost blade, the smaller one, would be hot or 120 volts, and the one on the right would be the neutral or should be close to 0 volts. And that same relationship carries over to 30 amp outlets on your pedestal. We're not going to bother to measure 20 amp pedestals here today because, well, nobody bothers to use them, but I'm going to show you a quickie way that you can do it. Part of the problem is the fact that these guys have got little shutters on them that doesn't allow you to poke in a meter probe, so best not to even try. So you can see here, again, the green ground should be at the top. The hot black should be on the left, and the white neutral should be on the right. So now let's go ahead and take a closer look at how we set a meter first before we actually get in and go do that. So here's my little meter. Let's get a little closer. First thing you want to do is see whether you're setting it to AC or DC. So the left side here is for DC. We can't use that. We're doing alternating current, so what we're going to do is set it over this way. This is the 200 volt scale, and you might think you'd want to use that, but in reality, since you could be going into 240 volts, we generally want to set to a measurement higher than the highest voltage than we could possibly get. So we'll set it to the 600 volt scale. I think that's far better. Now, here's our 30 amp outlet. Let's go ahead and do a quickie measurement on here. Now you notice I'm trying to just hold this with one hand. It's far better if you can. Let me go ahead and see if I can poke this in here. Yes, we're measuring about 120 volts. Now you'll notice it's a little kind of hard to get into these. One thing that I do to cheat, which actually works pretty good, is you get one of these little guys for $5 or so. You plug it in here, and then it's actually much easier to measure. So let's go ahead and do that. See, now it fits a little better, sitting at about 120 volts. And if this has the proper polarity, what we should be able to do is see 120 volts in that direction, because on the left side should be hot, and should be about 0 volts, very close to 0 volts, maybe a volt or so, from over to the right side. Now, this is a little tricky at times. One of the things that I like to use is you can get one of these little basic outlet testers that you can just plug right into this 15 amp adapter. And you can also check polarity with one of these little guys. So you just plug that in. You see, we can see with our 2 amber lights and no red light that the polarity is correct. And the voltage is correct. Pretty slick, huh? Now, there's no good way to do that on the 240 volt side. We just have to get the probes out. So now what we're going to do is double check here. Here's neutral down here, remember. Oops, let's go back. We haven't got there yet, have we? On a 240 volt system, it's kind of like this diamond shaped thing. Ground is at the top, neutral's at the bottom, hot 1 is on the left, hot 2 is on the right. So you should be measuring approximately 0 volts between neutral and ground. Of course, it could be as high as 2 or 3 volts and still be okay. And you're going to be measuring, you have to measure either 208 or 240 volts side to side. Let's go see what that looks like. So if I measure side to side, I'm measuring 245 volts. Did I see that? There we go. 249 volts, that's within specs. If I measure from neutral to this hot, I should be measuring around 120-ish. That's 127. I'll bring it down a little bit because I've got my own variac here. And from neutral to hot 1, we should also be measuring around 110 to 120 volts. If you go between the two hots and you get 0 volts, then you know that what somebody has done to this pedestal is not brought both legs in. They've run a single leg in and jumpered it across. And that can cause the neutrals to burn up inside of your RV. So you want to really avoid that. So again, you notice we've got that set to the 600 volt scale. Because if we had it set to the 200 volt scale, and we measured across here, it would just go out of limit, basically. So you wouldn't know what was going on. That's why we set it to 600 volt scale. And you don't want to set it to DC either, because if you set it to the DC scale and you try to measure it, well, it's going to give you some really wacky readings because, well, this isn't DC. It's going to be close to 0. The other thing to watch out for is there's a hold button on many of these meters. So if I am measuring here and I've got, say, 240 volts, come on, baby, and I press the hold button, it sticks, even though I've disconnected this. So you could be plugging this in anything else and it wouldn't tell you exactly what's going on. So you have to make sure that if you have a hold function, that it's not in hold mode. And once again, a really simple way to test the 30 is to plug in a hockey puck, one of these little 15 amp, plug in that to double check your polarity and your ground is intact, and plug in one of these little meters that you can get for $8 or $10. Okay, any questions, guys? Okay, so that's how you do AC. Now let's just do a quickie little moment on how to do DC, okay? So let's go back to the meter. Ignore all of this stuff. We don't need it anymore. So let's say I've got a couple batteries that I would like to test. What we're going to do is set this to the 20 volt range, like so. And now these are low enough voltages that you can go ahead and touch them with your fingers. Now you notice it didn't really matter which way I was putting the black and the red leads on AC, but on DC it does matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black lead and put it on the negative terminal of the battery here, right? And then, whoops, there we go. And then I'm going to touch the red lead to the right side. And you can see I've got 1.3 volts. That might be a little bit low on this battery. That one might be one that's dying. Let's go take another one. I'll go take this guy right here. Touch from here across here. 1.53 volts. So this battery is much better. Kind of see how that works? There's a number of other scales on here that we should not play with when we're doing this. Down here is our ohm scale, a continuity scale. What you want to avoid doing is plugging the meter probes into something and then kind of spinning this around because you're sure to blow things up. Also, note down here that your connections go into this black common and your red over here. You never put anything over into this 10 amp current reading thing if you're going to be doing current. If you're going to be doing that, we're going to have an episode for you soon where I'm going to show you how to use an actual clamp meter to do that. It's far better and superior for what the kind of things that you guys are going to be doing. Okay, how's that for a quickie lesson? Okay, I'm Mike Sokol from RV Electricity. And remember, you're going to be working with lethal voltages with this, so be careful. And let's all stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.